Happy Sunday, everybody, and welcome back to Live Lessons with Miss Lombardi. I am uber excited to teach you today because, voila, I have both of my hands. That cast is gone. So today, I'm going to be teaching you about percent of change, okay? So when you're talking about change, that can be either positive or it can be negative, but it can't be both at the same time. Meaning if A is increasing, then A cannot also be decreasing. So you can have a percent of change that is increasing, and then you can have a percent of change that's decreasing, but you can't have 50-50. So let's get started. I always love to use real life examples because it drives me cuckoo bananas when students say, Miss Lombardi, Miss L, I'm never gonna use this in real life. Well, some of you will. So let's get started. It says a baseball player hit 28 home runs in the year 2018. Unfortunately, that same player only scored 20 home runs in the year 2019. So, let's find the percent of change. If you're taking notes, I think it would be great to write these steps down. If not, more power to you. So what we're going to do, step 1. Okay, and I'm going to change the colors. You are going to subtract, okay? So for step 1, we are going to subtract. Now, there are two different ways that you can subtract because unlike addition, subtraction is not commutative. So if you take 7 and subtract 5, you're going to get 2. But if you take 5 and subtract 7, you're going to have -2. So the order does matter here, so pay attention because that's where a lot of people, a lot of students get hung up. So if we keep going, step 1 says to subtract. I would like you to write down original minus new. Original minus new. So obviously we can't dive into substituting unless you know what original means. So original has the word, the root origin in it. So that means that it came first. So in this particular problem, what year or what amount came first? The player hit 28 home runs in 2018. So if this is helpful for you, over 28, and we'll color coordinate this so it's easier for you to see visually, 28 was in the year 2018. So 2018 came before 2019. So the 28 is your, if you want to write next to it, your new, your original amount. And just like I just made a mistake, I could have absolutely deleted this video and redid it so it was perfect, but life is not perfect, and especially in math, you need to make mistakes to learn and to grow. So anyway, 28 home runs is the original amount because that's what happened first in 2018. So then when it says he scored, 20 home runs in the year 2019, that's the new amount. 2019 is the most newest year, even though that kind of is hard to put into words exactly, but 2018 was the original and the change is now 2019. So this down here is going to be the new because it was most recent prior to 2018. Okay, so underneath here I like for students to write examples so they can look back and see when you're trying this on your own because that's the only way to learn. Original amount, we're going to substitute the 28 home runs that he scored in 2018. We are going to subtract according to our written steps, and then the new amount of home runs in the year 2019 is 20. So 28 minus 20. So that's step 1. And obviously I'm going through this slowly, but once you get the hang of this and the steps, it really goes a lot quicker. Step 2, what we are then going to do, I'm so excited that I'm twisting my words, very excited to have this hand back and very excited to be here with everybody. Hope everyone's having a great day. Step 2, after you subtract, you are going to divide, okay? Divide. It's that simple. You're going to divide by the original. or the number that came first. So obviously the year that came first, once again, was 2018, okay? So if I move over here, okay, and I hope everybody, if this is organized, if not, feel free to comment below and I can try to switch it up a little bit. But I'm giving written steps over here, and then in black, the written directions of what you're actually doing. And then over here in red is I'm working on the problem. That way you can try different problems with these steps, okay? So now it says we're gonna divide by the original. So whenever we're using division, we're going to represent it like this, like a fraction, the numerator divided by the denominator, okay? So now divide by the original. The original amount of home runs that we are comparing to was in 2018. So we labeled over here, which is also why I suggest labeling, because after you've already figured that out, you have it set for the rest of your workspace. So original, we're going to divide by 28, okay? So now in the last step, step 3, this is the last step. So yes, there are only 3 steps, okay? Like I said, next time it will go quicker. Once you're a pro at this, it won't take very long. The next step is to make it a percent, okay? This question we are trying to calculate the percent of change. So let's take a pause on this for a second. If I went to the store and I asked you for nickels and you gave me dimes, that would not be appropriate, okay? I would have a look of confusion, okay? So back to what I was saying, if we need, and we're trying to find the percent of change here, we need our answer to be in a percent. I can't give you a fraction or a decimal because that wouldn't be meeting the needs. So the needs are percent of change. So the last step is we're going to convert or make, whatever word is more comfortable for you, but convert to percent. And yes, I'm going to put that in big giant letters. And I will put my fancy star because this is where students make mistake. They fly through, they subtract, they have confidence, they get to the second step, they divide, they feel great, and then the last step, they're eager, they're excited, they want to either finish or get to the next problem, and they forget to make it a percent, okay? So this next one says convert to a percent. We didn't actually do the calculation yet, okay? So I'm gonna now switch over and do that in the red marker. So we are subtracting, step 1. Step 2, we are dividing. So here we have 8, okay? This becomes 8 over 28. So like we said, step 2 was divide. This line, this fraction line means you're dividing. So 8 divided by 28 is roughly, I believe I wrote it down, 0.286. So you would get 0.286 with a bunch of repeating decimal. So in this answer now, the last step is to make this a percent. There are 2 ways that you can do this. I never restrict students to one way because my brain might work this way and your brain might work this way and someone else's brain might work another way. So I teach and I show all ways to do something, and then you have carte blanche to figure it out and figure out which one is your strength that you want to use. So the first way that we can convert this and make this the percent of change that we need is you can move the decimal 2 places to the right. Because right now we have a baby little tiny decimal and we're looking for a percent. A percent compared to a decimal is larger. So in the mathematical world, whenever we're getting larger or we're increasing, just as if we were looking at an imaginary number line, to increase, we would move to the right. So in this case, I have a small decimal. I want it to be a large percent, getting larger, increasing to the right. So once, twice, that black decimal is where your next decimal point is, okay? The new decimal point. So if I kind of do a little interruption right here, the same way that this was your original, decimal point, we now moved it, and this black one is now your new decimal point, okay? So that's one way to do it, giving you an answer of a 28.6% of change. So if you're looking over statistics, when people say that we don't use math, if you are obsessed with football, hockey, I combine the two, football, hockey, softball, baseball, lacrosse, everything I'm not picturing and imagining at the current moment, you can look up the statistics, and now you can find the percent of change to see if their skills or their strengths increased or decreased, okay? So 28.6%, that was the first way to do it. The other way to do it is if you're a technical person, you love the calculator, you love working on your phone to use the calculator, you can simply multiply by 100, okay? So if you make a connection, if you're starting to realize too here, we moved the decimal place 2 to the right to make it a percent to get larger. And the other way to do it would be to multiply by 100. Multiplying by 100, notice there's 2 zeros, and then moving your decimal place twice to the right, those are equivalent. So any time in life that you need to make a conversion from a decimal to a percent, you can either go once, twice to the right, or you can type in times 100. They are both equivalent, they are both the same. You will still get the correct mathematical answer, okay? So the final thing, and I'll write that down here, I'll write times 100 in parentheses, okay? So either move the decimal or use your calculator. This board is looking very full and very colorful behind me, which means we are wrapping up right now. The last thing that I would really love to point out here, just to take this one step further for a little deeper level of comprehension. In this particular problem, we were talking about a baseball player's total home runs. So in this particular problem, we did determine that the percent of change is 28.6%, but let's end this day on a very fancy note and just give it one more little cherry on top, okay? Real quick. 2018, he scored 28 home runs. 2019, last year, he scored 20 home runs. Did his amount or quantity of total home runs increase or decrease? 28 to 20, you have lost home runs. Your home runs have decreased, they have went down. So, to be snazzy and end this with a final lovely cherry on top, this individual took a 28.6% of decrease. So this player decreased 28.6%. Now you are sophisticated. Happy Sunday, everybody, and I hope everyone has a great start to the work week tomorrow.